Well, a lot of people think that you have to kill the rabbit in order to spin their fiber, so that's one of the first questions I usually get when I start talking about it. So I'm gonna start out, and I think all of it with sheep or any other fiber animal, within that group of animals, there's lots of different ways to process their fleeces or fiber, and there's lots of different qualities. So basically, there are 4 kinds of Angora rabbits, and I'm going to talk about 4 kinds of Angora rabbits. The biggest one is a German, and it's a commercial rabbit, and it weighs anywhere from around 15 pounds to 25 pounds, depending on how fat it is. So it's huge. And that rabbit does not shed, so you have to shear the rabbit. And usually with electric clippers, they have what's called ocelops, and they're called the red clippers, and they're from Germany. And those clippers are surgical, so you're getting down close to the fleece on the rabbit, between its skin and its fleece, and you've got to be careful not to cut them. You can also shear them with scissors, but if you ever get a hold of a rabbit and you want to shear it, you want to make sure you don't have pointy scissors. You want to have rounded curved scissors, because it's really easy to cut a rabbit. They have real fine skin. Also, they're a lot of work.
This fleece was all pulled.
Yes,
Oh,
that's
there were
because
no-
it's the French.
There were no clippers. It was all pulled off. When the animal gets ready to give it up,
Right.
it loosened.
Back to the German one, it will produce enough fiber as an alpaca.
Oh, wow.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
It's finer fleece, so for a cheaper price and cheaper to feed, you could have really good fleece off of that rabbit. So the next one in size would be the French rabbit, and you can pluck them, but they have to be ready to shed. So you don't go pulling on a rabbit when it's not ready to shed, or you're gonna tear its skin, and that's not a fun thing. So when I had the rabbits and I was going out to the libraries or the fairs, I had to make sure that I had a rabbit that was nice. In other words, it didn't bite or jump around or get upset with all the people laughing or whatever. And so that was kind of a problem. So you had to have a good number of rabbits. But plucking is really nice because you don't have that cut edge, and it's easier to spin. You can kind of see that. So I like to spin from the tips. So the tip of the rabbit fiber, you spin from that. The French rabbits also have guard hair, so that's a negative for the French. And again, it's individual rabbits, just like it is in any animal. The third one is actually American rabbit, and that's a satin, and it was based off of a German crossed and a satin meat rabbit and a French rabbit. And they tried to get away from all the bad fiber on them. And they're sort of like a sheep. They can have bad fiber around the haunches. And so if you get a rabbit, you need to really look at it, because they're quite a commitment. They take a lot of work. You gotta really work on them about once a week, or they're gonna mat. And when they mat, that's not fun at all, because it goes right down, just like an Angora cat would be. You've had a long-haired cat, you know how bad that is. So the satin rabbit, the thing that's nice about that is it has a sheen. So it actually shines, and it doesn't have any guard hairs. The bad thing about it, and they're trying to get this bred into it, is it's got shorter fleece. So you end up, it always seems to me like no matter what you're talking about, it's got a short fleece, it's usually fine. If it has a longer fleece, it tends to be a little coarser. And then the fourth rabbit is called an English. And the English rabbit is probably the finest rabbit, and it's small. It's about 5 to 7 pounds. And they're cute as can be. So the German and the English both have what are called furnishings. And what furnishings means, they have the tufts on their ears and they have fiber on their feet. Those things are problems in a confined area, because they're gonna get dirt on their feet, they're gonna get things in their ears, and they do get ear mites, so that's another issue. But you can use ivermectin on them. You can't do that with a cat, but you can with a rabbit. So that works pretty well to take care of any of the diseases. Well, so then the fleeces. So when you get those off of the rabbit, if you look inside your bag that you have there, take a look at that and see how long that fiber is. So they shed about every 90 days. And when you're shearing, it's about every 90 days too. So you see that it's all going all different directions. So you're gonna need to do something with that, right? Before you start spinning it. So if you start spinning from it, so you're gonna end up, and I'm gonna pass this around, I just spun a little bit up. You want it more like this end where it's kind of thin. So when you're doing a fine fiber like this, and if you're gonna do 100% Angora bunny, you're gonna want it pretty lightweight. And you can go this direction. One thing really good about this fiber is it takes dye beautifully. Oh my goodness, the colors you can get from it, it's just wonderful. I'll give this to you, Cindy, and you can pass that around. I have brought in some German that's been sheared, and if you look at this, it's got crimp in it. This is a really expensive, high quality rabbit, and it actually is red. So I gotta get down here and get this up for you. I know you're gonna look at it and you say, no, that rabbit isn't red. It looks more red when it's on. I'll pass it around so you see the red. So if you mix that together with something, it's not gonna stay pure white. What you can do is you can just pull it apart. So another thing about rabbits, they come in different colors. The most common color you're gonna see is black, which actually is gray. Their colors are diluted. And then there's red, which is this kind of copper brown color. Those are the two most common colors that you're gonna run into. But I'll pass this around and you can take a look at it and see what it looks like. It's different probably from what you have in there that is longer fleece. This was sheared at 90 days. And there's actually 2 rabbits in there that were sisters. So that's what comes off of 2 rabbits sheared at 90 days. So you see, you can do a lot with a rabbit. Do you have any questions so far?
These are your satins.
No, that's German.
If you are blending, like this fiber I'm looking at, it seems like it's pretty short. If you are blending it with wool, is there a percentage or a ratio that's good? 80 wool, 20 Angora?
I'd say 10. So when I was doing this all the time and I was going to all the fiber festivals, and Jody was out here at Quail Run, so I had Polesworth and CBMs at that time. So I was using their fleeces and then baby mohair, which is Angora goat, and then about 10% Angora bunny. And what she would do is she'd run them through, and when they're doing a fiber mill, they go into a screened area where they blow everything around. So at the very last, she would throw a bag about that size in with about 20 pounds of fleece, other kinds of fleece. The CBM, and probably I'd say maybe 5 pounds of kid and Angora goat mohair. So that was a really good mix, and I loved it. But one of the things I found out was with the Angora goats and with the rabbits, the mills do not want to deal with them, and they won't do them. And so that becomes a real issue. If you got that and you want to have 100% Angora bunny into robing, it's going to cost you a fortune. And part of it is that they don't have the equipment to do it. So that's the problem. I'm going to show you a couple other things.
Laura, do you have another bag?
You had them, didn't you?
These are, I don't know if you're familiar, anybody familiar with these? Have you seen these before? They are, but they're children's combs. You've not seen them before then.
No.
We use them on the Angora bunny. They're real fine carding. You see what that looks like?
They're kids' cards because they're little, but the teeth spacing is the same as an adult's, or not?
You can get them in different sizes of cards.
Right.
These are fine.
So
The
the-
cloth on them are fine. That's what they call, the needle part here is called cloth.
So the kids are just the size, but you can get them in all
The
grades.
size and the weight. But when we were doing a lot of rabbit stuff, so what I do a lot when I have something that's in that bag, if you have cards, you don't have to have children's cards. They're just easier to use. Then you just card them up, and I'll come around and show you. Can you see what happens with Angora? What's happening when I go by you?
Static electricity right
It's
there.
great. Got an idea on what to do with this?
Do you use powder?
You use,
In water and a spray.
right, with a little bit of oil. Baby oil works really good. I didn't bring it because it's really messy. So I'm gonna tell you how I handle this. I like to do it outside, not on a windy day. And then spray your fleece as you're going along, because you see how much static is in here. And then when you let loose of this, when you're spinning it, it's gonna fly. It's kind of messy, but once you get it down and you start spraying, it really makes a huge difference on how you do it. There's a couple other things. Any questions on these cards? I got them from Rachel when her son was a baby, Billy. So you know how old they are? What, 25 years? I'm guessing that you can get them from Paradise Fibers, that they can order them. Do you want to look at them a little closer?
No, not yet, I can do it.
Anyone that wants to look at them a little closer is welcome to do it, or try them.
Cards work really well too,
Yes,
because they're the fine, real fine time. So
yes.
if you have cotton cards, you can use them on that really well.
This is another thing that I use a lot, and I used it with the bunnies, because what it is a split sheepskin, and it happens to be a hair sheep out of the East Coast, and it's washable. And it's great if you have to groom a small dog or a cat or whatever. So I keep it on my lap, and then it takes care of, it holds down a lot of that Angora, or any fiber that you're working with. It works really good if you're carding something, or if you're doing combing. It works really good on that if you don't want that all over the front of you. So this is a fun thing. I'll send that around too, so you can take a look at it.
And that's what,
It's sheepskin that's been split, and it's hair sheep. So that's why it's so small. So I'm guessing that they did it where they were slaughtering them, and then they sold the fleeces. They're hard to find. I think you might be able to get those again from Paradise Fibers. Do you have any questions while we're sending these things around? So what I think you should do with that is try it and see how it goes without, maybe if you have cards, and like she said, a cotton card would work too. If you have the cotton cards, they work well too. Or even a light comb, like a hair comb, you can use a little bit of that on, take a tea towel and put it on your knee and then just comb it a little bit. That's important. The other thing that's a characteristic of these hair fibers is a halo, which means that after you knit something up, they're gonna get fuzzy. And you can get a brush if you wanna have them fuzzy right away. They have brushes that you can buy. They're especially for that, and you just brush out whether it's alpaca or it's mohair or it's Angora. You just brush it out, and then you get the halo on it right away. So that's a good thing. But anyone that wants to try spinning, I'll be glad to help you with it. Yes?
We're curious, where did you get the sheepskin?
I used to sell them, so
Okay.
I had them left over from when I was doing, I probably sold a couple hundred of them.
Wow.
But see, this has been 20 years ago, so these are just left over from when I was doing the booths.
it's a wonderful
Well,
thing.
It might be worth seeing if Candy sells anything close to that.
That's what I was just thinking.
Sheepskin, and it does not feel, the sheepskin we have at my work is not like this. This is almost more like the pigskin, except this is much nicer.
Yes, and it washes beautifully, and I've dyed them. I made little outfits for my granddaughters and dyed them, and made little western suits for them with little fringe around the bottom, and then did stuff out of handspun for them. That was when we were going to Junior Livestock Show.
It reminds me, Margaret, of, I think Ultra Suede is the stuff that was manufactured out of artificial things to mimic that polyester.
Right.
But they made it so that it was that same kind of hand feel, that wonderful softness, but it wasn't.
I've sewn with that a lot.
You can buy
Yeah.
chamois, synthetic chamois,
It is like a chamois cloth.
real chamois, but they also make a synthetic chamois. It has a lot of that same.
Yes. I don't think it'll let you split its side a lot.
So what do you normally blend your Angora with, or do you just spin it 100% Angora?
No.
Because I thought that might be hard.
So back to that part. What I would normally do if I wasn't having it processed in a mill, I'd spin one strand of Angora bunny, and then I would ply it with something else. And it wouldn't probably be a hair fiber, because you're gonna want it to go back to its original size. And if you have hair fibers, they're gonna stretch. So it used to be when we were, years ago, because we're really old, that we used to have mohair sweaters. And boy, those things would start out about here, and within about 2 months, they'd be down here. They stretch, they get skinnier and longer. So in order to have this bound back, you want to have some sort of a fiber. Anything that, merino works good, it's a fine fiber. Polesworth is part in fine like merino or CBM. All those things work really well. And you can put, I told you, mohair in with it. Kid mohair works really well with it. And especially if you get colored and you want to do natural colored, You get a black one and it's gonna be blacker than the rabbit is, but it's gonna still be with steel gray. It won't be solid black. And Shetland works good with this too. So just the finer wools work well. And again, you might wanna consider the length of the fibers. That's kind of important too. You don't want something really short. So if somebody, I should talk a little bit about maybe when you pluck a French, and people ask me what rabbit did you like the best, probably the French. And the satin, again, because it has a shorter fiber, that was a problem. You had to be really careful because it was gonna shed, but it was gonna shed with about 2.5 inches. Is that what yours were about? 2.5 inches. Cindy bought a few rabbits from me in the past.
Quite a few.
So-
And one of those chamois.
Oh, and one of the chamois, do you still have it?
Yeah.
She still has it, so it's old too. So the things that, with the rabbits, when you pluck their fleeces, I would say these clamshells, I don't know if we got one over here, but you know what I'm talking about, what cookies or what salads come in. So pluck the rabbit, get tissue paper, lay it out so you have everything going the same direction. And then when you start spinning, then you have that all right there. The thing you have to worry about, and this is really important, is moths really like Angora bunny. So you really have to be careful with those things, and especially those clamshells tend to have holes in them, some of them do, so you have to be careful. You can tape the holes closed and make sure the rabbit, that all that fleece, if you're using a spray, that's all dried out before you close it up, because you don't want it to mildew after all that work, right? So any other questions about this?
So you're saying spin the Angora rabbit first and then apply it with the wool? Don't blend it with the wool?
You can do both, but
Okay.
say if I'm not going to the mill and I got both, because if I'm processing my own fleeces, then I'm gonna spin that fleece I processed and then spin this into one, and then I'm gonna apply them together. But I do like the stuff that the mill does. Now, see, I've had trouble with mills not doing a good job. And then I haven't needed to have as much fiber because we aren't going to, I had to quit doing that about 20 years ago. So when you're not going and selling, you don't need all that fleece to be processed, and it's getting really expensive. And then to get it sold. And then the other thing is people have changed what they're doing. We used to see people buying enough fiber to spin a sweater. No, they're not doing that. They're buying enough to do a hat or a scarf or something else. They're not doing a big project. And that's in general when you're selling things, not with us, but in general.
I think this lady is all about, I'll take the whole fleece, nothing but the fleece.
That's you?
I think a bunch of us are all in that.
Lori,
What?
I've hand blended Angora. It's not a big deal. So I do it on a drum card or I do it on hand cards. I just weigh out, and I usually somewhere between 10 and 15% because it's so stinking warm. And even at 10%, it'll halo really nicely. So depending on the project you're trying to do, just weigh it out, blend it in batches, and spin it that way.
Do you try to match the length of the Angora with the fiber?
More or less. I 1.5, so my Angora is like this. I would try to find or cut a fleece 1 to 1.5.
Before, if a mill is inexperienced, you do not want their Angora bunny to go through a picker. A commercial picker just rips it all to pieces. It does that to fine fiber too, but one of the things when you guys are talking, remember what I said, usually shorter fleeces are finer. So if you get merino with a shorter fleece, you're not gonna have a problem. The one thing you would have a problem with probably would be Angora goats, because they have to be sheared twice a year and they grow fleeces about 5 to 7 inches in half a year.
Okay.
So that's one of the things you have to consider.
That's a good idea.
Any other questions? I'm glad to help anyone that wants to work on this.
Thank you.
Margaret.
You're welcome.